pegs, how you all doing? Hope you're all keeping safe out there. Today it's another list video for the start of the year. Now it's going to be my Transformers list for figures I've owned or, I don't know, come into contact with over the last 12 months. Thing is, I've not actually really bought that many Transformers in the last year, so I kind of struggled to make a top 10. So what I thought I would do, instead of do a top 5 and a bottom 5. Yet the 5 best and the 5 worst Transformers I've dealt with in the last 12 months. And some of these may be controversial picks, but yeah, let's get going, shall we? And well, actually, I'll tell you what, I'll do the worst ones. I'll get the worst ones out of the way first, then always end on a high. I'll do the good ones afterwards. Okay, so the 5th worst Transformer I've dealt with in the last 12 months, and to quantify all this, these are ones that have come out in the last 12 months as well, not just because I've dealt with a lot of old Transformers after going to TF Nation this year, or last year, and yeah, I'm just doing this list of ones that have come out in the last 12 months. So number 5, the 5th worst, it's Legacy Beast Wars Transmetal 2 Megatron. Now I understand a lot of people out there probably thinking, what the hell am I doing putting this on a worst list, but no, let me just finish. It's an okay figure, and I think that's to its discredit. Transmetal 2 Megatron from Beast Wars should have had an amazing figure, and it kind of bored me a little bit. I had it for a few days and I thought, I don't really want this thing, so I sold it on to someone else. Sculpt wise, design wise, I liked it, but it just didn't seem right for Megatron. I really can't quantify why. I think I had issues with, like, everyone knows the in robot mode, the Dragon mode back sort of just hangs on the back of the robot mode. It doesn't clip in anywhere, despite having clips that you think would clip in. But if you do clip them in, it disengages the neck section, and that all just looks wrong. The Dragon mode arm, well, okay, it's the design from Beast Wars. Still looks too clunky and unwieldy. I don't know, maybe an extra joint or two would have helped, or if they had more of a range, or if they could do something more with it. I think that's a nitpick, to be honest. It's just, and obviously in Dragon mode, the weird extended neck that came from how the robot transforms, it just looks awful to me, I think, which is such a shame because this figure does do some things great. The integration of the Dragon mode claws into the robot mode chest, I love that. How all the details have been captured from the original toy, I've really enjoyed that. Though, that's kind of a deficit as well because the head in robot mode doesn't look like the animation model for Megatron. It just looks more sad. It looks more like Gigatron from Transformers Robots in Disguise. And yeah, it didn't gel with me. I will, however, because I say this is the 5th worst, it's not the worst of the worst. It's low on the list of the worst ones, because I will happily rebuy the figure if we get a repaint into Cryotech. Because I think in the blues, the turquoises and the purples, this figure will look amazing. Okay. Onto the 4th worst, that's hard to say for some reason, Transformer I've dealt with in the last 12 months, Legacy Armada Starscream. And yet again, I understand for some people this is a controversial pick. But my issues with this figure are kind of my issues with Transformers as a whole in recent years, or perhaps more so in the last 12 months. He's a Voyager class figure, but he doesn't feel it. He feels very light. I think that's a shame, because the engineering on this figure works mostly. And I think if they just upscaled it by maybe 10 or 15%, he would have been perfect. But so much sort of doesn't quite feel right with him. And I think that mainly boils down to the shoulders. The shoulders have this weird thing where you have to slide them out and clip them in to go from robot mode to plane mode. And I don't know if it's just my copy, it just didn't work. The arms would just flop about in the shoulders, and to get it to actually lock in, you have to put them in the wrong position for robot mode. And it sort of spoiled the look of the figure. Not only that, but I don't know, the whole thing just felt underwhelming, which is a real shame because Armada Starscream was a fantastic character in the Armada show. And while this figure technically represents him almost perfectly, it doesn't quite represent, I don't know how to say this. He doesn't embody the greatness of the character. Okay? And there's a few paint apps missing, like he comes with the red blade, which in the show is made from one of his wings. Really could have done with some white paint on there to make it look like one of his wings transformed. And the vehicle mode, I can't. Okay, I really shouldn't hold it against it because it's the design of the figure, it's the character design he's meant to transform into this jet, but I don't know, I never really liked the jet and I was underwhelmed with the figure on the whole, to be honest. Okay, third worst figure for the last 12 months. This is one I had for a day and I gave it to someone else. Well, I traded for another figure with someone else. Legacy Skids. Oh, this is a real rubbish figure. It's so hollow, it doesn't quite feel nice in hand. It's such a boxy robot. I know he's meant to be boxy, but I don't know, I kind of felt like more could have been done with him. And his accessories, while yet again right for the character, just are underwhelming, and I think a lot of people have dogged on this figure for good reason. It was just all in all a very underwhelming figure. I can't really go into too much detail because honestly it's just not great. But I kind of wanted more because I loved the Skids from IDW Comics, and I bought him thinking, oh, I'll have that. No, this will satisfy the nostalgia I had for that character, and he really didn't. I know there's been other uses of this mold as cross-cut, and there's a version in the Velocitron line. I think they wear the design much better, but I just think for the character of Skids, if you've read IDW, I wanted more out of this figure, and maybe it's my anticipations or my I don't know, my desires just running away from what really can be made or what the figure really would be, considering it's very G1 referential. But it just didn't sit well with me. Okay, my number 2 worst figure, which I got to hold and mess around with like just before New Year's. Legacy Point Blank, and yeah, enough has been said about this figure. It feels cheap. It feels underdesigned. The articulation is pretty terrible. It feels more like an Armada figure. Now, nothing wrong with Armada figures, but Armada was a very different place engineering and design-wise. And this figure feels like, well, they've just gone back to that, and so like, things move about enough, don't they? Things that look like a robot made, doesn't have to be brilliant. And this figure also feels like so many corners were cut in the in the sake of cost of cutting costs. It's so hollow in places. That awful pelvis region, the arms just feel underdesigned. It is just a really lackluster figure, and what's really annoying, which I think annoys a lot of people, the Target Master he comes with is just a retread of the original Target Master. He doesn't do anything. He just literally flips the legs up and it's robots to gun mode. And yes, I know that's what the original Target Masters did, but we've had the ones from Siege and all the War for Cybertron trilogy, the Battle Masters. You could have just done one of those in red and black. I'm pretty sure they actually did do quite a few of these in red and black. I remember one came with the Netflix Megatron, I think. You could have packed that in here, or obviously get the colours, get the black and the black bits black and the red bits red, as it should be for his Target Master. Which I cannot remember. Is it Peacemaker? I want to say no. So the Peacemaker, yeah, but whoever his Target Master is, they just reused one of those Siege Battle Masters, and it would have been brilliant. It would have cost no more engineering wise, no more design wise. Just literally run those molds you've already got sat somewhere, and it would have added more value. But this was a really bad figure, and yeah, that's why it's in my number 2 spot. And my number 1 pick for the worst figure of the last 12 months, I think this is pretty obvious. Legacy Prime Universe RC. This figure was awful. I gave it I bought it hoping it'd be good, and it really wasn't. The legs are just don't click together properly. They fall apart. The design is so overly chunky in the legs. Considering RC from the Prime Universe was slender and I understand a very stylized design, but they managed to get that design to work in previous RC toys. And yes, I understand they've also G1ified the design to make it into the Legacy line, but it just doesn't work. It's such a disappointing figure with really bad kibble management. You literally have to take the steering wheel off, turn it into a really crappy weapon. It's literally a case of we don't know what to do with the wheel, so we're just gonna make it fold in half and say it's a drone or a gun. The front of the bike mode pops off too easily. It's a really bad figure, and I've had it 3 times now. I bought Prime RC. I also had Road Rocket on order, which turned up as well. Didn't like either of them, and I thought I'd give it one more chance. And I had the Shatterglass Flame War, because I love the Flame War design. I love Flame War as a character, but the mold just ruined it. I sold that figure on because the mold just doesn't work. I wish they just waited a bit and maybe use that upcoming animated universe Prowl motorbike design. Use that as RC, because that looks like a really good, coherent and well engineered bike to robot transformer. Well, this really is naff. Okay. Right then. Enough that negativity. Onto the 5 best Transformers I've dealt with in the last 12 months. Number 5, the Velocitron Speedia Collection, or Speedia 500 Collection. Yeah, that's it. Scourge from the Robots in Disguise 2000 series. It's a repaint of the Legacy G2 Laser Optimus Prime, which I didn't get because it looked too busy and a bit... not really for me. But Scourge, yeah, perfect. Fantastic representation of the original RID figure, which was itself a repaint of the old G2 Laser Optimus Prime. The colours are fantastic. Everything about it looks great. And I really don't have any complaints with the figure. The figure delivers on everything you want it to do. It's only low on the list because of a price thing, because obviously these Speedia Collection figures are bumped up in price a little bit for being a exclusive line at Smiths here in the UK. If it was like £10 cheaper, say, he'd be higher up on the list, but he's a fantastic figure. I paid a little bit more than he's worth, really, but that's always the way with Transformers, isn't it, nowadays? He's held back a little bit by... I'm not really a great fan of the shoulder setup. The pylons don't really articulate, which is a bit of a con, because the packaging art shows them tilted like 45 degrees, with the joints his arms move on. They're not. His arms move on joints hidden underneath them, and they're a bit obtrusive, and they get in the way a little bit. But apart from that, a fantastic figure. Okay, next up, number 4, the 4th best Transformer of the last 12 months. Legacy, exclusive to somewhere, I'm not entirely sure where, because she's turned up in a lot of places here in the UK. Legacy Minerva. Fantastic figure. Shares a mould with the Legacy Elita 1 figure, though clearly the mould is meant to be Minerva. Fantastic looking figure. Great articulation, great sculpt, great paint. Transformation is really good. Accessories are okay, 2 different guns, but you can't complain about that, the extra weapons. I really love this figure because you don't often get many female figures, but it's nice to also get a female figure that's also a bit obscure, being a Japanese character, one of the Headmaster Juniors from Transformers Master Force. All in all, a really great figure. I love the way the face has been painted, all those extra details of the orange faceplate, the red sides, the blue eyes, the black ear stacks, that's what you'd call them. I love how also they got that classic design of the larger shoulder pylons. It all just looks absolutely brilliant, and it's one of my favourite female Transformer moulds for a long time. Okay, number 3, Legacy Tarantulas from Beast Wars. This is a absolutely tremendous figure, and like everyone else, I was kind of worried he'd just be an upscaled, slight retool of the Kingdom Black Arachnia figure, which, by the way, is a fantastic figure, like one of my favourites. But no, he's an all-unique sculpt. The engineering, the painting, the design process that made this figure, I think, needs to be applauded. He goes from a really creepy and chunky and beefy looking tarantula mode to a really screen accurate robot mode. All the character in that face, just the extra details that really bring the character to life is fantastic. The moulded textures that kind of look like creepy, I don't know, like the way you think a spider would feel. As I said, the paint is fantastic, the engineering is brilliant, and it's a much beloved character done really well. And for a deluxe class figure, he has some real heft, and you feel like every penny of the budget has gone into making this figure, delivering as much as they possibly can with this figure for the budget they've got. So yeah, fantastic figure, my number 3. Number 2 is one I got myself just after Christmas. Legacy Evolution, Needle Nose. Now, this is a bit of a weird pick, I think, because like if you go back to us with Point Blank, I mentioned one of the things with him was that he just came with basically just a re-release or the same Target Master as the old toy. This guy literally just comes with the same Target Masters, just re-sculpted to make new sculpts, but they transform the same, they look the same, but they have far more character. And Needle Nose himself is absolutely packed full of character for what's effectively a job of a figure. He is the gooniest goon you will ever see. There's nothing flashy or flary about his design. He's got a knight's helmet for a face, near enough. But the greys, the purples, the blues, the yellow face plate all come together to create a charming robot mode that really has no faults. It articulates well, it's painted well, everything is... The joints are fluid, they're not stiff, everything moves as you want it to do. He's not being bogged down by some strange gimmick. His 2 Target Masters work really well with him. And as I say, they are just basically just remakes of the originals. Would it have been nice to have have him come with a pair of repainted Battle Masters? Yes, but I can understand at that point it would have been really over budget and it would have impacted the figure. But also consider, like, Point Blank looked like a really crappy figure and he came with 1 Target Master. Needle Nose here is a fantastic looking figure and he comes with 2 Target Masters. Not only that, but the Target Masters themselves have got a great bit of paint on them, great detail. As I say, they're full of charm and personality, and this is a really great set, which is the exact opposite end of the scale as Point Blank. This is delivering just the gooniest of goon Decepticons in such a charming way. Okay, and my number 1 pick of Transformers for the last 12 months? Legacy Voyager class Jaxus. Now, who would have thought we'd have got Jaxus as a figure? A character from the Generation 2 Marvel Comics version of Transformers. A character design really never to have a figure. He is so chunky, so unapologetically 90s aesthetic. The running cablings on his design, that massive Bruce Campbell-esque chin, all the details on him, and the weird colour scheme for Decepticon of yellow, white, green and red. But this figure is stunning. Okay, his robot mode, 99.9% kibble free. I dare say he's pretty much completely kibble free because any kibble that is on there is actually part of the design from the get-go. He articulates beautifully. He's hefty, he's chunky. He has all the charm of maybe of like a leader class figure. Like he has hands with opening fingers and everything's jointed so well and the range of motion is fantastic. The sculpted details are superb. The face is full of character and that menace of the 90s comic book version of him. It is a brilliant, brilliant figure that I think everyone really needs to have in their collection. Even if you're not a fan of G2, even if you're one of these people who make me feel old because they weren't alive when the G2 comics came out, Jaxus still looks tremendous. Even his stupid vehicle mode. Like, it was always a bathtub with wings in the comic books, but here they give him a pretty decent Cybertronian jet mode. It's nothing, like, design-wise, it's nothing spectacular. He doesn't change into, like, the ultimate gunship. He changes into kind of like a utilitarian-esque, like, spaceship with little green wings, and it looks silly, but the character himself looks silly because he's almost like a summation of that weird 90s time where everyone had a massive gun, and he himself comes with two different guns. They're not as massive as maybe they could be, but yet again, they're 2 great accessories, and they just add to this fantastic figure, which it amazes me that this is a modern figure at the Voyager price point, because I could have easily seen them releasing this like Coronation Starscream, even with Starscream's throne, because that's what a lot of people put him with, as a leader class figure, and I'd probably still picked it up because it just looks so just brilliant. Well, that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode, or this video. As you can hear, I'm still not 100% after the Christmas and New Year's of being ill all the time. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you've got any comments, please leave them down below. And if you're not subscribed already to the channel, please subscribe for more videos in the future. And until next time, folks, I want you all to stay safe, stay sane, and keep on rolling. and I'll see you all next time. Ta-da!